I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I'm James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to Friday's edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, if you have a Bible with you, please turn to the book of Genesis, and we'll turn you over to Jeremy Dissekam for our study of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. This is the 118th lesson in our study of Genesis. Yesterday we covered Genesis chapter 34, verses 8 to 19, discussing Jacob's son's deceit concerning the marriage talks for Dinah by Hamor and Shechem. If you missed that episode and would like to watch it, you can find it and all of our other podcasts on our website at www.eastendchurch.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/eastendchurchofchrist under the Walking Through the Bible Genesis playlist. Today we're going to begin with Genesis chapter 34, verse 20, and read through verse 24. The text that you'll see on the screen is from the English Standard Version, but you're welcome to follow along with any version that you have. So let's now read Genesis 34, beginning at verse 20. So Hamor and his son Shechem came to the gate of their city, and spoke to the men of the city, saying, These men are at peace with us. Let them dwell in the land and trade in it, for behold, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition will the men agree to dwell with us, to become one people, when every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised. Will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Only let us agree with them, and they will dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. This chapter began by telling us about the violation of Dinah by Shechem. It's a story we don't often talk about because the discussion of a likely rape makes us uncomfortable. And while I wouldn't suggest telling this story to young children, if we fail to teach it to teenagers and adults, we will not learn any of its lessons, and some might even go out and commit the same sins that we see committed in this chapter. So while this conversation should be carried out with proper discretion and tact, it is a discussion that Christians need to have. The text says that Shechem had feelings for Dinah afterwards and wanted to marry her. In that time, it meant that he needed to arrange with the family the terms for such a marriage to take place. Now, people today look back at this story in disgust, not only that arranged marriages took place, but that a man who was a potential rapist would even be considered a suitable mate for Dinah. As it concerns arranged marriages, we shouldn't look back at this society and judge it based on 21st century standards. Arranged marriages were customary at that time for many reasons, and just because we don't agree with it doesn't make us right or them wrong. When it comes to a potential rapist marrying his victim, as we'll see in this chapter, the brothers were just as angry about the rape of Dinah as we would be. In yesterday's episode, we saw that they answered Hamor and Shechem deceitfully, only making it seem like they would be accepting of this marriage, when in fact we'll find out tomorrow that it was never their intention to allow Dinah to marry Shechem. What was their deception? They said that Dinah could marry Shechem and that they would marry the daughters of the city only if all the men of the city were circumcised. Why was that important? Because circumcision was a sign of the covenant between God and Abraham. If one wasn't circumcised, one wasn't under that covenant. And even at that time, marriage to the uncircumcised wasn't seen as acceptable among God's chosen people. This saying pleased Hamor and Shechem, and because Shechem really wanted to marry Dinah, he was immediately circumcised. The task was now to convince the people of the city to do the same. They state to the people of the city that the men of Israel are peaceable towards us, and since the land was big enough for the two peoples, that therefore it would be good for them to allow the Israelites to dwell there, trade there, and intermarry with them. They then placed the condition before the people, circumcision. We don't know how much convincing the people needed, but Hamor and Shechem really tried to show the men of the city the economic benefit to having the Israelites stay with them. They basically said, if you do this, we'll all be richer. for the Israelites are a rich people. No mention is made that this was also necessary in order for Shechem to marry Dinah, a woman he defiled and potentially raped, something I find interesting. The men of the city agree, and all the men are circumcised. If the sons of Jacob were being sincere, this would be the end of the story, for Dinah would be given to Shechem as a wife, and the two peoples would intermarry and live among each other. However, there are 7 more verses to this chapter, and the events contained therein will have a lasting effect on those involved. Knowing this, we'll conclude the story, the Lord willing, tomorrow. With that, our time is up for today. Please join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow, when we will continue our study of Genesis, beginning with Genesis 34:25.
Thank you, Jeremy. And to our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below or email us at answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we'll be continuing our study of the book of Genesis. Goodbye for now and have a great day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord.